I am Kamali, taking you through some of the things people are talking about and some of the stuff they're sharing around the world on NewsFeed today. Journalists jailed in Myanmar. Millennia of history destroyed by fire in minutes at a museum in Brazil. A weird kids video goes viral and gets weirder. Open your mouth, ha ha ha.
It's another gift. Why don't you
And we'll tell you what this little girl found in that box. Well, top of our newsfeed is Myanmar. Days after their military was accused of carrying out an alleged genocide against the Rohingya, the government of Myanmar have jailed 2 journalists who were trying to cover that story. Now, when Myanmar emerged from military dictatorship back in 2016, many people hoped a new democratic nation would emerge. What's happened is quite the opposite.
2 Reuters journalists in Myanmar have been sentenced to 7 years in jail. Walon and Cho So-woo were arrested for violating the country's 1923 Official Secrets Act. The journalists say they were set up by the police, as they were caught carrying documents given to them by officers. The journalists were investigating violence against Rohingya, which saw 700,000 people flee to Bangladesh. Last week, the UN accused Myanmar's army chief of leading a campaign with genocidal intent. The Myanmar military hasn't allowed journalists access to Rakhine State, where the attacks took place.
This is directly challenging the democracy and media freedom of our country. We will calmly face this situation with our best efforts in the appeal. Since we didn't do anything, we have no fear. We are going to do our best to face it.
Human rights groups have criticized the country's leader Aung San Suu Kyi for not speaking out for the journalists and failing to stop the attacks on the Rohingya ethnic minority. Myanmar became a quasi-democracy in 2011 after half a century of military rule. Aung San Suu Kyi was the democratic champion of this movement and became the de facto leader of the civilian government. But the country's military can veto anything Aung San Suu Kyi proposes in matters of defense, foreign policy and internal security, and hold 25% of seats in parliament. Many former supporters have turned against Suu Kyi. Cities around the world have revoked honors they gave her because she refused to condemn the army crackdown. But she won't be stripped of the Nobel Peace Prize she was awarded in 1991. Suu Kyi was considered a defender of human rights and democratic values. What is stopping her from speaking out against the abuses of the military and defending the freedom of the press?
All right, let's take a look at some of the other things that caught our eye on social media. Now, John McCain was buried at the weekend. His funeral was a huge event in the US and President Trump was not invited. Now, while Barack Obama and George W. Bush were giving eulogies, Trump was tweeting. And when he finished tweeting, he went to play golf. It was Aretha Franklin's funeral over the weekend, and as the Queen of Soul was being laid to rest, this guy, Charles H. Ellis III, who is a bishop, groped the singer Ariana Grande. Now, people watching the funeral began posting screen grabs of it as soon as it happened. Ellis III later apologized, what else could he do, and said maybe he was too friendly. Creepy yes, friendly nah. And Childish Gambino has released 2 new songs on an EP called Summer Pack. And this is the video for Feels Like Summer. And it got people online spending their time trying to work out the meanings of all the animated cameos. And I've got no idea what's going on either, but they're crying at Kanye wearing a MAGA hat while being hugged by Michelle Obama seems pretty self-explanatory. There it is. Now, the song's great, the animation's cool, just a few months late for a summer jam. Isn't it September? Now, a huge fire has caused loads of damage to the National Museum of Brazil, and it's been reported that the building didn't even have a sprinkler system. Now, it was a viral video that became a popular meme for many, but this one is so weird that there are worries that what starts as a harmless mod of a children's video becomes something really dark and quite disturbing.
If you're a parent, you probably know this song. Johnny Johnny is something of an internet phenomenon. What began as a children's nursery rhyme for preschools in Southeast Asia about baby Johnny's dishonest eating habits has devolved into a creepy, strange yet catchy video meme. Variations of the video turns baby Johnny against his parents and even shows the family puppy taking control over their food. The video's popularity has generated thousands of memes online, applying the Johnny song to relatable moments in life, popular movies, and even religion. But as the meme has taken on a life of its own, it has become less child-friendly but more accessible. YouTube's algorithm has created a huge platform-induced incentive to produce videos that regurgitate popular content with slight variations, which can be easily manipulated to trap children in an endless autoplay. The original creator, Billions Surprise Toys, has cracked down on the spread of the video, issuing a DMCA takedown of the tweet that went viral. While this seems to have slowed down the shares, the spin-offs are still available online to warn the world about eating sugar and telling lies.
Now, public toilets in Seoul, South Korea will be checked for cameras every day. There's been an explosion in what's called spy cam porn, and authorities want it stopped. Here's Bruce.
Behind me, a restroom in a Seoul subway station. It's in public facilities just like this that Seoul city government will be massively expanding its searches for tiny hidden cameras. That's because South Korea is experiencing a spy cam pornography epidemic. Videos of women secretly shot in changing rooms, spas, restrooms just like this, and even their own homes are flooding the internet. So, from 2 weeks from now, Seoul City will be expanding its bathroom search operation. But the real action begins on October 1st. From that date, thousands of workers twice daily will fan out across the city to check every public restroom. That's more than 20,000 restrooms. The city's expanded action comes after month of protests by women in South Korea, coming into the streets saying enough is enough and that their lives are not your porn, chanting that over and over again. Seoul has been criticized for its previous searches not turning up enough spy cameras. But now with its expanded efforts, the city hopes that it gets a different result and that the public feels more safe.
Now, Mexico has been racked by crime and violence for decades. It has one of the worst murder rates on the planet. Now, a newly elected congressman will bring a unique and possibly invaluable perspective on gangs when he assumes office, because he used to be in one.
Cuando falleció mi madre, en el activismo encontré mucha paz. Cada chavo que ayudaba era una situación de que le daba la tranquilidad a una madre, ¿no? Y significó para mí todo, mi forma de vivir.
Es un vato que salió del barrio, pero pues ahorita está en algo más arriba, ¿no? Que nunca se le olvidan la gente que está abajo de él.
Now, the killing of at least 40 children in an airstrike in Yemen serves as yet another tragic milestone in that nation's civil war. The children were killed by a bomb that was dropped by a Saudi jet. Now, they've apologized, but say it was not a war crime, despite accusations of such by Human Rights Watch.
الانتظار حتى خروج الهدف إلى منطقة خالية تقليلا لوقوع أضرار جانبية لا مضرر لها.
Let's go around the world for some other stories you need to know this Monday. The Ugandan politician Bobi Wine, real name Robert Chagulani, is in the United States for medical treatment. He left Kampala over the weekend. His arrest a couple of weeks ago led to protests on the streets. Chagulani has been a vocal and persistent critic of the 30-year rule of Yoweri Museveni. If you're Egyptian and have more than 5,000 followers or have a blog or website, then authorities there will now be monitoring you. A new law gives the security services the rights to block or ban sites and accounts which publish or broadcast fake news or anything that they say encourages the law to be broken or incites violence and hatred. Free speech groups say this is just the latest attempt by the government in Egypt to stifle any commentary that's critical of them. A judge in the US says a couple who raised 400 grand for a homeless man called Johnny Bobbitt but kept most of the money must give him the cash he's owed. Kate McClure and Mark D'Amico apparently spent some of the money raised for Bobbitt, and now lawyers will argue about how much money should be turned over and how much money has been spent. And the last thing up today, we want to start your week off with something life-affirming. This is video of the moment a little girl found out she was being adopted.
All right, well, there's one more gift.
We have one more gift.
It's not from Granny, but it's another gift. Why don't you careful open it up. There we go. I want you to read it.
I'm going to be adopted?
We love you, sweetheart. We'll always be your parents.
I love you so much. I love you.
And that was posted on the Facebook page of Paige Zezulka and has, as you can imagine, gone very viral indeed. And if that didn't bring a tear to your eye, there's something wrong with you.
We love you, sweetheart.
Well, that's your lot from the NewsFeed team. Reach out to me with your questions, comments, complaints and suggestions. I'm at Kamali Melbourne. You'll find us 24/7 on Twitter, YouTube and Facebook. Follow, subscribe and add. See you again tomorrow.